Like and subscribe in the next 5 seconds, or this will be in your bed tonight. What was the biggest bullet you dodged? Didn't lend money to a friend because I was broke. Few months later he disappeared with several thousands he had stolen from my other friends. You know, it's funny, I was debating this with a friend. He needed a little extra cash to buy a car because the one he was currently driving was legit and safe. He said he needed about $1,200. We play Magic the Gathering, EDH, every weekend and he has a deck worth about $2,000. I've talked to him about spending his spending on that deck, but that's a discussion for a different time. I'm basically acting like a pawn shop right now. I gave him $1,200 cash and he gave me the $2,000 deck. As soon as he pays my back he'll get the deck back. It's better than him selling the deck that he spent a lot of time and money on. All to get pretty much the same amount. This way he'll still have the deck at the end. This was back around Halloween and I already have $700 back. That's a good way of handling it. I had a cardiac arrest about 4 years ago. Dropped dead-ish in the middle of my shift. Found out after I woke up about a week later that A. The manager who saw me fall was a former lifeguard and knew proper CPR. B. An ambulance happened to be passing about 2 blocks away. C. Probably the best cardio unit in my state was a 10-minute ambulance ride from where it all happened. Walked out of the hospital about 2 weeks later. Full recovery. Just before starting HS, I got hit by a car doing 35 miles per hour while riding my bike. T-boned, my bike went under the car, I was thrown up, smashed the windshield out with my back, was flipped over the car, and landed a perfect no-hop landing on my feet, like a gymnast, minus the arms raised flourish at the end. The entire accident was witnessed by a firefighter who was watching out his window, literally standing right next to his emergency radio, and called for an ambulance. The lady who hit me got out of her car, yelling, "I'm a nurse, I'm a nurse, lie down." I had no breaks or fractures, just a bruised ribcage. Holy shit, that's incredible. I can't tell you how many patients I've cared for who have become paraplegics or quadriplegics after being hit by a car going 35 miles per hour or even less. I'm so glad you landed on your feet, literally, lol. Was going to move to a different apartment complex last month. Got injured at work and lost hours. Therefore, couldn't come up with the deposit money in time. Last week Summer Shat was cooking meth and caught the building on fire. Thank God username doesn't check out. Edit. I am but a simple yam. Thank you all for the awards. In 1992 I was 16. A bunch of us were about to leave a party and I called shotgun. But my friend Pat kind of wrestled me out of the spot and I wound up jumping in another car since the first car was now full. The other driver and I watched as our friend's car skidded into oncoming traffic. Pat was airlifted to the local trauma hospital where his dad told a huge group of us teenagers that Pat had succumbed to his injuries. Maybe that's not exactly bullet dodged, but similar story. I was going out with my mom and sister when I was in about middle school. I always sat in the passenger side back seat if it was more than me and the driver. My sister decided at the last second that she would stay home, and we got T-boned on the way home in a hit and run. The other car totaled our car, with all the damage on the back passenger seat, where I should have been sitting. I still think about that often. I prefer the driver's side, with the assumption that the driver will be more aware of and responsive to threats on the same side. That thought has guided the placement of the car seat for my kid's entire life. Edit. I think it will save everybody some time to let you know that there are 7 Dwight Schrute comments so far, with 2 of them linking the video clip. When my great aunt passed away I was helping to clean out her house. I'm just dragging everything out of the basement and suddenly my dad is like, "Whoa, put that down gently and let's move away from here." So I put the weird metal tube type thing I'm carrying down and get out of there. Turns out it's a mortar shell from when my aunt worked in a munitions factory during World War II. A bomb squad came and took it away. I'm just casually going to take a mortar from work. No problem at all, as you do. Did you ever hear back from the bomb squad about whether or not it was still active? If they took it rather than safely detonating it, I would imagine it was almost certainly inactive, unless there's more to the story than OP is letting on. Similar situation, but he had kids with another woman and ended up murdering their kids and tried killing her. He also robbed a ton of old people and now he's in jail for life. Bullet dodged. Ohio. Not changing jobs in early 2020 would have been a short-lived promotion after early restructuring and layoffs. I changed jobs the 9th of March, 2020. 2 days later my city shut down and everyone was sent to work from home. My new company committed to zero COVID layoffs. The company I left laid off about 80% of my department. Dodge a bullet, haha. Same thing. Mine committed to zero COVID layoffs. Apparently restructuring layoffs were fair game though. Went to kill myself by putting a plastic bag over my head and tying it off. Figured it would be less messy to be found. My cat started going crazy on the other side of the door when I started to get lightheaded and feel sort of nauseous. I thought, oh right, you need your dinner and no one else will feed you, and I untied the bag to feed the cat. After the fact I realized my cat literally saved me from one of my lowest points. God, I miss that cat. Still can't believe I came that close. Edit. Hi friends. Thank you for all the warm thoughts and sharing stories of your savior pets. Do save your awards please. This is the most I've ever gotten. Give them to another comment that has yet to receive an award. Spread the smiles, love and support. Thank you so much. I'm truly touched by the human connection in this thread. I might sound crazy, but I'm sure your cat knew. I attempted suicide by trying to slice my wrists, but as soon as I sat in my kitchen with the knife in my hand, my dog rushed to me and started licking my arms and my face. To this day, I'm sure she knew what was going on. Seeing her so desperate for me to stop was what prevented me from doing it. God, I miss that doggo. Edit. Holy crap. I wasn't expecting this to blow up. Thanks for sharing your stories. For the kind messages and the awards everyone. I wish you all the best in these difficult times. I'd agree with this. My GF, now wife, got pregnant when we were teenagers. It was obviously a very difficult time and we spent a lot of time sitting on my couch contemplating how to handle the situation. Without fail my dog would come and lay his head across my wife's stomach. This was very early on, she wasn't showing at all, and it was very comforting to her. However, it may not have been intuition, we assumed maybe he could hear the heartbeat or had a new smell now that she was getting pregnancy hormones. Our baby came out healthy and we went on to have another happy baby, earn a master's and doctorate degree, and buy our first home by 26. My mother left me in one state and went back to my abusive stepfather. She tried to get me to drop out of my senior year at HS, move back to their state and just get my GED. They wanted a live-in babysitter, cook and maid. I was so lucky my grandparents let me move in with them and finish school. Edit. Thanks for all the love guys. For those who have asked, I'm doing great. I've got no contact with my mother and stepfather, they're still together, and it's been one of the most healthy decisions I've made. My husband and my kids are amazing and she's missing out big time. My grandparents are alive and well and are still involved in our lives. It's always the grandparents that are the true homies. Grandparents have the grim misfortune of seeing their children become complete assholes, and then treat their grandkids the way they wish they'd treated their kids. Not me, but I had a field service engineer working on one of my big robotic liquid handlers. He decided to bypass the safety pin that prevents the heads from moving while the cover is open while he had a diagnostic program queued up on the computer. What he didn't know was that the instant he reinserted the safety pin the machine would execute the queued instructions and start moving. And he had a hand inside it right in the danger zone. I grabbed his shoulder and yanked his hand out an instant before it was crushed. He stopped ignoring me when I told him to stop bypassing safety lockouts to save a few minutes. Whoa, I'm sure this guy isn't completely responsible for you guys putting a safety system in place, but it sounds like he certainly had a hand in it. Damn it, take my upvote. My dad was going through severe depression 10 years ago and my life was equally shitty for a whole multitude of reasons. And it was rubbing off on me. I spent what felt like half an hour crying on the floor and working up the nerve to pull the trigger. Then when I finally did, the safety was on. I sold my gun the next morning. Wish my dad was able to say the same 3 years later. RIP. Really sorry to hear that, dude. Hope things get better for you. All my condolences go to you and your family. Thank you. Things have somewhat improved. Which if I was in the financial position I'm in now that I was around that time, things definitely would have been different. Both of us were financially struggling. I was walking down the street in downtown Chicago and I heard a loud bang followed by a woman screaming. Somebody dropped a full 2-liter bottle of soda from the 13th floor and it just missed me. It was essentially a giant bullet at that height and speed. The woman screaming was about 5 feet behind me. She was the second closest to being hit. I'm pretty sure that bottle would have killed me if it hit me. Edit. Thanks for the awards. I immediately reported this to a nearby police officer and he said they were trying to find the guy who was trying to hit people from the 13th floor earlier that day. That's where I got the 13th floor. For those of you who say there's no such thing as a 13th floor in America, fine. 14th floor, but on the same height as where the 13th floor would be. For non-Americans, 13 is unlucky, so some buildings will call their 13th floor the 14th floor. One time at school we were practicing cadences for drumline. A light fell from the roof, around 30 feet high. One of those lights with the diameter of a basketball and looks like half a sphere, hit the ground and shattered 1 foot to my right. Don't think I would have died, but probably would have gotten a concussion and it would have hurt a lot. Percussion concussion. I stayed up all night before a day trip to Hong Kong. You know the days when you haven't slept, you're just kinda robotic and doing the human stuff. Nearly zero awareness of anything? Well, I went across a street and my friend behind me snatched my shoulder and yanked me backwards just in time to feel the whoosh of a double-decker bus breezing past us. I just looked at him like, oh, thanks man, and it took a whole extra minute for my brain to process I would be duck and dead had he not grabbed me. After I had a stroke, I was in a coma and it didn't look like I'd wake up. The doctors asked my wife if they should let me go. I only exist because she said no. I didn't dodge a bullet so much as my wife blocked it for me. Your wife is amazing. I hope she realizes that. Customary edit. Thank you u/G+S for the award. Honestly, this made me tear up a little. Please tell your wife that she's incredible. My aunt did something similar. She saved her husband from a heart attack by using her nursing experience and network to get him on the table before it even started. To this day even doctors have no idea what caused his heart attack. But my aunt and your wife are legit superheroes. Not my story, but a girl I knew had had a few drinks and decided to hitchhike home. A town about 40 minutes away from the one she'd been drinking in. Note it is very common for people to hitchhike in this area. She gets picked up by a car of guys. All seems fine until she points out they can drop her off just up ahead. And they keep driving. She had that instant sober feeling. She plays it off like she's clueless and totally down to keep hanging out with them, acting like she's very drunk. Meanwhile they're back in more forested area of the highway. Then she fake dry heaves and says she about to puke, really putting on a show, so they stop to let her out. She books it into the bushes and just doesn't look back until she's safe. That was very smart of her. That is absolutely genius of her. It's honestly frightening that she had to come up with that idea in the first place. But it's so good she didn't start panicking, giving them the clue that she knew what they were doing. Freshman year of college I had a calc class. It was material I had learned before, but for various reasons they didn't give me transfer credit, so I skipped class quite frequently, though I usually slept in. One morning I find myself awake at 8:30 and not really feeling like sleep. Might as well check in on the class and see what's going on. It was the midterm exam. As a chronic procrastinator, I've been there, but I've also noticed it a day too late and that feels bad, man. Just noticed one of my assignments a day too late and the syllabus says no late work, no exceptions. I went from an A to a C+. I'm glad you checked. Whoa, you truly dodged a bullet there. I feel horrible for the kid with a mother like that. 7.92 Mauser rifle bullet. When I was 15ish I was very depressed and got very drunk. Found my great grandfather's World War I captured German rifle. Found some bullets from that time. Loaded it. And put the rifle in my mouth and pulled the trigger. Thankfully the bullet was not loaded properly, was a dud for being 90 years old at the time. And did not fire. You got extremely lucky. I am shooting 70-year-old ammo and it's very rare to have a dud. Glad you made it through. I think the intent was clear, but fixed it. Thanks. I mean it had been sitting in a basement for years. and it might have been a larger round as I had problems fitting it in. I was younger and less experienced with firearms. Nice. I have some ammo from World War II, German and Soviet, but do not shoot it. At 17yo I met and married a sweet little North Carolina daddy's girl. Had I not, I would have still been hanging with my friends that just discovered heroin. Of the 3 friends, 2 are dead and 1 did 10 years in prison. Everyone I used to know, including family members, got into heroin. I loved to party and had done all the drugs with them up to the point of heroin, and probably would have got into it too if it weren't for my GF at the time forbidding me from it. Thank God I loved her more than drugs to listen to her. A lot of them are dead. My sister and the rest of them are locked up. I just laughed at the thought of your GF telling you that you can do all the drugs you want, just not heroin. When I was in middle school I wanted to buy a fedora, but none could fit my head. Euphoric. A literal police car. The police were chasing someone and I was crossing the road and my dumbass was walking slowly and the police car nearly grazed me. Look both ways and take off your headphones when you cross the road, kids. Look both ways and take off your headphones when you cross the road, kids. This can't be stated enough. And even if you have the right of way and will win any legal matter, I guarantee that won't mean shit to you when you're being peeled off the pavement. Seriously, I don't understand people that just walk right out into a crosswalk without even looking. How do they trust other people that much with their life? Have they met other people? A friend had lost his job under suspicious circumstances. A few weeks later he asked me to take him to the bank. As I got near to pick him up I caught a train. He called to say never mind, he would get someone else. A few days later a friend sent out a message to a large number of our friends. This guy lost his job and was running a check cashing con. Can you cash this check for me? I'll pay you $50 if you do. The check is $500. He has no backing funds. You eat the whole amount. He did this to several friends in a few days to amass a few grand and was about to skip town when the cops got him. Halfway through this I was thinking you dodged being an unknown getaway driver for a bank robbery. Same here. Was slightly disappointed. Getting chased by someone with a knife across my apartment. I closed my door at the right moment so that person ended up stabbing my wooden door instead. The mark was there until I left the apartment a few years later as a constant reminder of what could have been. Unfortunate, but a good moral boost. Shit, I'm late for work, opens door to knife mark A. Could have been worse. Edit. Oh my first award. Thank you, kind stranger. And why was this person trying to stab you? Literally, I was walking back to our barracks in Afghanistan talking with my peers and my staff sergeant. We get to one part, my staff sergeant grabbed my collar and pulled me back. Right, there was an unexploded 40mm grenade projectile from a launcher sitting where my foot was about to land. Big yikes. So the biggest bullet you dodged was 40mm. Missed a train by seconds. Got on the one after. The one I missed hit someone. There was news in 2006 about a man who had a very punctual routine and rarely got late for work. Fortunately he was late on this day and missed the train but caught the next one. The train he missed had a bomb in it. Oh, was that the Madrid bombings? When I was 15, I am 16 now, I was being manipulated and lied to by a 20-year-old man for sex. I brought the topic on so people could give me their opinion and a random IO helped me snap out of it. A few weeks ago I talked to the 20-year-old and I then completely understood that he just saw me as a walking hole to stick his dong in. Edit. I did not sleep with him. I snapped out of it before he got the chance. Damn. I hope you're better now. People like that are ducked. Stay strong and don't let it haunt you. Go forth for the future. Yes, I am doing so much better. Thank you. I basically hit rock bottom during that period and I saw him as the only good thing that happened to me in a while. Sounds stereotypical, but I pretty much had a mental breakdown and cut my hair. Since then my mental health has improved. X said we can have unprotected sex after getting some unfortunate news from her gynecologist. Something felt off. Few years later she had twins with some guy. I'm always hearing about this some guy character. Always up to something crazy. He's an awful driver too. Practically every time I'm going through bad traffic some guy cuts me off and then does 20 over the speed limit. Almost proposed to a girl who had been cheating on me with a pile of shit that called himself my best friend. This was years ago, and I'm getting married at the end of the month to the love of my life. Life has a way of working itself out. I'm glad you got out of that situation. Congratulations on getting married. My high school sweetheart and fiance was my bullet. He ghosted me out of nowhere. No explanation. Just gone. So needless to say, no wedding. I sent the ring back to his mom cause I didn't want it and was pissed. I go on to live a great life. Find a wonderful guy and we have been happily married for 21 years. 25 years later I find out that my old flame had been arrested for underage solicitation, sexting underage girls, possession of child porn, and many charges of sex with minors. Apparently Mr. Big Man in his community was arrested in a sting operation after this 12-year-old girl's parents found a whole series of explicit texts and had found that he set up a romantic hotel room get-together for them. Police pretended to be her and he was caught in the parking lot of the hotel. Even better, he was married to the same chick he was apparently seeing while we were together, and had a couple of kids, all around the same age of his victims. Yeah, before finding all this out, I regretted for a long time that we didn't work. After finding out this had been going on for at least 20 years, I was rather glad I got ghosted. Never been so glad to dodge a bullet. Edit. Thank you for the awards, but if you can, please donate to local child abuse centers or battered women and children's shelters. They need help, especially this year. A guy pursued me for 3 years and I couldn't get away from him no matter how hard I tried. But finally he got sued for harassment and rape of multiple women. Little bullet dodge story. In my 20s I was really into claybird sheet shooting. I discovered an old ammo reloader from the 50s in my parents' basement. Father let me have it. He used to use it in his youth as well. So, I started reloading the shells myself. Shooting a few times a week it was worthwhile to reload them for the savings. The problem however is that the reloader was worn out and wasn't putting the proper proportions into the shell sometimes. I wouldn't know this from lack of experience and not able to see the bar that fills up the powder into the shell. This bit is important to understand what's going to fail and how. How a reloader works is, put the powder in first, a plastic wad to keep the powder sealed in place, then the BBs, ammo, on top and the shell folds into itself. Doing this by hand would take a very long time. A reloader automates this process. All you have to do is put the physical shell in there, pull the hand crank and out comes the completed reloaded shell ready for action. Anyway, went to the range with 2 friends. We were having a blast, no pun intended, using this ammo. Up until this point we hadn't used a bad round yet. Friend tossed up a bird. I took a shot and it sounded weak. Barely any kick to the gun. What I should have done is stop right there and check things out. Instead I took another shot quickly so not to lose score. The results are as follows. When I took the first shot the plastic wad went 3/4 up the barrel. The shell didn't have enough powder in it. When I took the next shot the BBS hit the plastic wad and the barrel flowered outward like a cartoon. I felt a BB rub my sideburns. That's how close the blowback was. The box behind me was peppered with BBs. Somehow by pure luck none of us were hurt. I spent over $300 buying a new barrel for that gun as it was a 25th anniversary Bloodwood edition shotgun with changing choke tubes. It was my father's. I wasn't going to return it like that. None of mine had choke tubes. Attached are pictures of the aftermath. This happened in 2003. I have never shot a gun that uses gunpowder again. I made the switch to PCP air rifles. Ordering overseas as that wasn't and still isn't really a thing here. imgur.com link. imgur.com link. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more interviews.